Odell, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. And I was just saying to you, actually, that it's a real lucky pleasure because I've been listening to your album the last few days and I loved the singles from it. I really loved them. But I genuinely am now quite obsessed with this album. I love every song on it. And it's a very cohesive album. And I just think it's by far and away your best album so far.
So sweet.
So it's absolute perfect time for me to get to talk to you. So tell me about it, because I don't even know if you could go as far to say it's a bit of a concept album, isn't it? So it's called Jubilee Road.
Yes, yeah.
And lyrically, it's based on a lot of things that you were witnessing and experiencing while writing the album. But Jubilee Road isn't actually the street that you were on.
No, it wasn't.
It's a falsified name because the residents were worried about you turning them into famous people.
Yeah, I think probably I just felt it would have been crossing a line. You know, there's one thing writing an album about a street, but also like naming it. Because it's very small. It's a tiny street.
And you've moved off the street now.
Yeah, but it's not...
So it would have been a bit like throwing a little grenade in.
Yeah, just as I leave, I think if it was like, you know, like Abbey Road, for example, is a very long street that goes on for ages. Like, this has 18 houses on it, this street. So it's like, it wouldn't be hard to sort of go there and, you know, work out where I lived and stuff. So, no, it's inspired by a road, but I think there's an imagination, and I think, dare I say, rather sort of cheesily, I wanted people to be able to find their own Jubilee Road. You know, so like I didn't want to sort of pinpoint it geographically too much because it's more just representative of community and a sense of belonging. And I think it's a very optimistic album compared to the other two, actually.
But you're obviously witnessing what's going on.
Yeah.
So you're writing this album unexpectedly from home.
Yeah.
You actually record some of the songs in your living room. Is that true?
Yeah, did some of the vocals there, yeah.
Where you can sort of hear the noise and what's going on in the street.
Yeah.
But you talk about community and belonging. I mean, that can be quite hard to find in London in 2018. Yeah. So where did you get that sense of optimism from? What were you witnessing?
Well, I think perhaps I had to look for it. On the surface, perhaps, you know, if you were to wander down that road, you wouldn't feel it. But I think it was there. And I think for me, it was like, and I think I presume for a lot of people my age, is we don't, you know, living in cities, we're constantly moving house, constantly going from one place to another. And I think for the first time after touring as well for 4 years, I was aching for a home. And I really had to make it my home to sort of know the neighbours and to feel like it was somewhere I belonged. And I think what was so wonderful about this street and what's so wonderful about London actually is that it was so diverse, you know, and that we did have the old East Enders that were living there, mixed with some of the people my own age, mixed with people from all walks of life, from lots of different countries as well. And it was a really inspiring place to be. But on the face of it, it wasn't all sort of bunting and street parties.
But at the time, you were clearly very content because you say you'd come off from a long time touring, you were in a relationship, you say you even had a pet cat, and so you're a pop star, you're a rock star, you know, that is a very transient life.
Yeah.
So you obviously felt happy.
I needed it, yeah.
And it was a time of settling down, I guess.
I think it was certainly the sort of ambition was that. And it was, you know, it was incredible. And like to know the neighbours, I even knew which day the dustbin men came. I genuinely found so much more inspiration right there on my doorstep than I would have ever found. You know, I stopped chasing it and suddenly it was in front of me.
Is it right, though, that there was a period of change when you were writing the album? Because obviously you sold the house and you say that your relationship broke up at the same time. So you go from, I guess, that peace and harmony and tranquility to seemingly...
not there anymore.
Yeah, quite an uncertain time. So did that happen actually when you were writing the album? And if so, did it play into different songs?
You know, it's still quite sore, the whole thing. I think what does surprise me is I seem to write myself out of relationships.
The 5.
So, Tom, each week I ask my guests about the 5 songs that mean the most to them. So it could be a song that inspired you to write and play music, or maybe one that brings back special memories, or just something totally ridiculous. So recently, Adam Lambert, he chose Madonna for setting him on the road to fabulousness. Shawn Mendes told us how Kings of Leon influenced him musically, and this is the one I know you're going to be interested in. Gemma Collins, the GC, talked about her love for Beyonce.
Right.
Do you love the GC?
Yes.
Do you have no idea who she is,
No.
do you? Oh my God, Tom! You're so in my bad books right now.
Who's Gemma Collins?
Gemma Collins, the larger-than-life reality star from The Only Way is Essex, but she went viral when... You must have seen the clip when she fell through the floor at the Radio 1 Teen Awards.
I did not.
Through
I'm
the
not.
trapdoor.
I'm.
Oh my goodness, Tom. Okay, I'm
know.
showing it to you straight after the interview.
Okay. I was gonna go along and pretend I knew who Gemma Collins was.
Collins.
For a
Amazing.
while,
You've been exposed.
Yeah, I've been exposed. There's a whole world I need to check out.
It really is. So let's get your 5 tracks, Tom, and why they mean so much to you. So what is your first
So I
choice?
gave this a lot of thought.
Thank you.
My first one is going to be Bruce Springsteen with Thunder Road. When I was about 18, I had this car. I was living in Brighton, and I used to drive up to London to do gigs. And I used to drive up the road and like go and see all the lights, and it was like, for someone growing up outside London, I always saw it in this very sort of starry-eyed way.
Like
and
you're coming into the big smoke.
yeah, going to make my fortune.
Which you did.
To some degree. Anyway, I always used to wind down the windows and put this song on really loudly. I have to say, I just felt so free.
Yeah.
And I now have this sort of yearly thing where some point in the summer each year, I will drive and I'll put the windows down and I will listen to this song by Bruce Springsteen, Thunder Road. And I can't, there's no other feeling like it.
Just think life is good.
Yeah, life is good.
Well, that is a brilliant first choice. I mean, it's going to be hard to top that, but what is song 2 in your 5?
So my second song is by Ben Folds, and he's, I don't know, you aware of Ben Folds?
Well, from Ben Folds 5.
Yeah, from Ben Folds 5. American artist, and I had his piano book when I was about 12 or 13, so I had to, learn all the songs. And this song, Philosophy, was a song that it's such an incredible piano part and was very inspiring. And I always found Ben Folds' music very inspiring because he was another piano artist, and the way he plays the piano has really influenced the way I play piano. And if it hadn't been for Ben Folds, I don't know if I'd be the artist I was today. So I'm very grateful for him.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Song 3.
Song 3, Elton John, Tiny Dancer. And as my manager Margarita said, I don't think I could do this playlist without putting an Elton John song in.
You needed an Elton song in there.
Again, like, hugely influential in my songwriting. Really was the sort of spark to why I started writing songs. I grew up listening to his music, and I chose Tiny Dancer. I remember the day my first album came out, Elton rang me up, and since then we've become friends. And I've been to his various houses a few times, and he's been such a great mentor.
And he does support a lot of young artists, doesn't he?
And like you said, Adam Lambert with who was
Madonna.
He introduced me to fabulousness.
He just set you on the road to fabulousness. And who better to do it than Elton?
Yeah, exactly.
So, song 4.
Song 4, I've chosen Nina Simone. Again, like, I'd say probably my top 3 artists of all time. And she's incredible piano player, and her life was really quite turbulent, but she was such a defiant, powerful woman and incredible performer. this song, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. You know, you have those songs you just keep coming back to throughout your life, over and over again. And that's a song that I don't know, it has a sort of special place in my heart.
Love that. And which song, Tom, completes your 5?
Here's a song by this band Supertramp, which I don't know if they're still together. It's called Goodbye Stranger. Ever since I've been touring, the band and I have this sort of nightly ritual where we listen to lots of music in the back of the bus, and each of us has a song which we're not really allowed to play anymore because we've played it so many times. And
this is yours.
And this is mine, because as soon as I have more than 3 small drinks, I put this song on.
Well, let's have one more listen. It's very clear that you were craving that normality and all of that type of thing. But actually, as you will know from so many of your contemporaries, you know, having a quote-unquote normal life as a musician is really difficult.
Yeah,
the job is not very conducive to it.
It's really hard. And it's not just hard because you're travelling. It's hard because, particularly being a solo artist where I write all my songs, my dream is one day that I'm able to do both. I haven't managed to do that yet.
Well, you are only 27.
Yeah.
So presumably you feel like you're still young. There's a lot of time
I
to
hope
come.
so.
Or
But,
are you someone that craves marriage, kids, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think definitely. Maybe not right now, but I definitely want to have kids and definitely want to. I mean, I'm not sure about marriage, but I'd like to. I mean, I'd like to put a wedding dress on.
You can do that at the weekend, Tom, with me.
I do, don't worry.
There are some things away from the album that I want to ask you about. Of course, you were growing up. Well, you were actually born in Chichester, where I
Yes.
just was at the weekend. Very nice part of the world.
You went there?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Nice.
just went there for a birthday party. It
Really?
was my
In
first
Chichester
time.
or
Yeah,
near?
just nearby. It's a very
Right.
beautiful part of the world, isn't it? But then you also spent some time growing up in New Zealand, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And is that true that it's because your dad was an airline
Yeah,
pilot?
so he worked for Air New Zealand
I see.
for a little bit. Yeah,
What age were you when you were
I
in
was
New Zealand?
5, so I was quite young.
And how many years were you there for?
We were just there for a year. Yeah, so I like to play, I like to go.
But I guess that must be quite weird.
Well,
because,
it was-
so you actually have memory. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember when I was 5.
No,
so-
I do, and I think it's funny because I've spoken to people that have done similar things where they've moved when they're young, and it cast a shadow over the rest of my childhood because I think it was such a big event. I remember so much of it. It's really taken the sort of the headline memories, So yeah, I remember it lots. I remember going to school with no shoes on.
That's very Kiwi.
Yeah, I remember the fruit roll-ups that used to sell in this tuck shop we went to, and because I went to school there. It was my first time at school.
And have you been back? since
Yes, I
you
went.
released the music?
Yeah, I went back 2 years ago, and I went back to the little house we lived in, which was in Ellerslie in Auckland, and I visited it. And it's so mad when you go back to a house you haven't been to since you were young, because I imagined it as like this mansion, and it was this sort of house the size of this room, and it was really sweet. And they had kiwis, animals, in the park next to it. But it was so nice. I really love that place. It's so sort of peaceful.
And they probably claim you as a New Zealander, I imagine. Year in New Zealand,
I've been asking
and you
them
are
to.
a New Zealander.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Is it true, Tom, that you were discovered and signed by Lily Allen?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
So how did that happen? Because, I mean, did she have a record label?
Yes, yeah. It's very complicated. Music industry, they have these sort of... I don't really fully understand. They have these imprints on them. So it's like she had an imprint on Columbia, which I'm still on. And
But she's not involved anymore.
no, she's not. But it's real. It's a real sort of like movie script sort of story, because it was like, it's quite
How did it
cliched.
happen?
I was doing just tiny gigs with no one in the rooms in London. She happened to hear about me, and she came down to this gig, and there was 15 people in the room, and I did my set, And Lily Allen was one of the people. And I'd never met anyone as famous as Lily. I was like, you know, I was a kid from Chichester. Yeah. And I met her afterwards and I was sort of shaking, like, you know. And I remember driving home afterwards and I was in my grandmother gave me her Skoda, and which I used to drive up and down to London. And I remember driving home going, like, I think my life might have changed tonight. And it did. And I signed to a record label, and then a year or so later I put out my album, and then, or maybe it was a bit longer, but...
And are you still close?
No, I mean, we exchanged a couple of messages every now and again.
Well, that means no.
To be totally honest with you, I wouldn't say we were ever really, like, close friends, even at the beginning. She's always just been really supportive, and we do exchange messages. I'm a big fan. I loved her new album. There was that song 3 that she wrote, Through the Eyes of Her Daughter, which I thought was really, really moving.
Well, I have to give her credit because she doesn't get credit for many things these days, but she discovered you.
Shuffle, delete, repeat.
And Tom, this one might be tough for you. It's shuffle, delete, repeat.
Yes.
All of our guests do it. And it is when you have to make tough choices with your own songs.
Yes.
So we're going to choose 3 of your most famous songs, and you have to choose which you would shuffle, which you would delete, and which you would put on repeat. And the 3 songs we have chosen for you are Another Love. Of course, your first UK Top 40 hit back in 2012, now a long time ago, reached number 10 in the charts. Real Love from 2014. Of course, it's your biggest UK hit to date. It featured on the John Lewis Christmas ad and reached number 7. And then your brand new hit, If You Want to Love Somebody, lead single from your forthcoming album, Jubilee Road. So, what do you want to shuffle? What do you want to delete?
Oh, God.
And what song do you want to repeat?
Oh, God. Well, I can't do anything to Real Love because it was written by John Lennon. I just feel like that would be bad.
So maybe shuffle that?
I shuffle that. Yeah, we've heard that.
Yeah.
We don't need to
come
hear that
back
again.
to it. You'll come back to it.
And then I'd probably have to delete Another Love because I can't delete my newest single because my label has just sat over there and they'll probably kill me.
Exactly. So you put on repeat If You Want to Love Somebody, which, do you know what, is one of my favourite songs of the year.
Really?
It's such an incredible song.
That's too kind of you.
And
Thank
the
you.
perfect kick-off to the album. So that's a good choice. You've got to repeat that.
Too kind.
Then, of course, that John Lewis ad, Tom, it was another career changer for you because it was something that I guess took you to the mainstream maybe in a way that hadn't happened to you before.
Yeah.
But it is also hard, I guess, when you're so associated with something like that as well. So I mean, did you have any regrets about doing that Christmas ad?
No, not at all. It's funny because me and one of my mates, James, we always joke, who's Tom Odell? And it's like, oh yeah, Tom Odell. Is he the penguin guy? And I always think, I'd like to be known as the penguin guy. But no, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets about anything. I think Yoko or something heard it and she said she liked it or something. So.
Amazing.
But no, yeah, and it's so nice to be associated with John Lennon in some way.
Now, Tom, you were approached to join the talent show The Voice, which was on ITV, or had moved to ITV. Obviously, they've had a lot of big names who've done that show.
Yeah.
And they said they were looking to bring in a credible name. Why did you turn it down? Because obviously that's another thing, I guess, that can take you to a different level, but also perhaps bring some negative things with it if you become a talent show judge. But I guess it must be hard to turn down something like that, given the success that it's had for other people around the world.
I had my moments where maybe I, at the beginning, was like, oh, maybe, the fame thing could be really fun. But I think generally stay a little bit away from it. I find the whole thing a little bit terrifying.
Because, of course, in those early days, you won that Brits Critics' Choice Award, which has propelled so many massive names now when you think about it. Everyone from Adele to Ellie Goulding. And, I mean, it really has become a big thing. And I remember at the time, you were the toast of all of these parties and you were pictured on what was a date or a meeting or whatever with Taylor Swift, but then obviously you made a conscious decision that you didn't want to be part of that celebrity lifestyle. And I always say it is a choice. You know, you can choose to be part of it or
I
not.
couldn't agree more. It's definitely a choice. I found it all quite terrifying. I don't think I'm built for that kind of thing. But, you know, I enjoy a nice party and a drink. But
it's so important to have your real friends.
Yeah, I'm much more of a sort of pub guy. I always looked back at the photos of myself and just thought I looked like a complete idiot. Like, I'd look at them and just go, you look like an idiot. Like, what are you doing there? Like, you can't fool me. like, and I just, for fear of looking like an idiot, I stopped going. But listen, if you want to invite me to a party,
You're there.
Yeah.
And now we go quick fire, Tom. So you've just got to say the first thing that goes into your head. We are talking your firsts. So, Tom, what was your first job?
My first job was working in a sports shop called Game, Set and Match. And I used to unbox the clothes and stock check and all that.
Good job. First person you spoke to today? The honest answer.
I don't know if I can give you the honest answer. The first person I spoke to today was the shopkeeper.
Okay. I believe you. On that note, the first thing you do in the morning?
The first thing I do in the morning is I like to drink a large cup of coffee.
Your first celebrity crush?
Oh, Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Kirsten Dunst. Yeah.
Teen movie star.
Yeah.
And the first person you were starstruck by?
I think it was Shane Warne.
The cricketer?
Yeah.
And now, Tom, your lasts. What was the last time you felt scared?
I live on a quiet road and there's a lot of foxes and they do this. You had the foxes crying.
It's not nice, is it?
It sounds like someone's been murdered with a pickaxe. Yeah, so I think the other night I heard that, and I've heard it lots of times. It still terrifies me.
Last present you were given?
Oh, I just got given, just an hour ago, a massive bottle of Aperol.
I love Aperol.
Yes, a magnum of Aperol.
Who gave you that?
Aperol.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because I talked about them in an interview. Now they're probably going to send us both
I
another
read
one.
it. Okay, I'm going to make sure I include Aperol in the print coverage of this
we're going to
newspaper.
put it in the headline. We'll get like endless lifetime supply.
Do you know what though? I was a late convert to Aperol spritz, right? And
me too.
Yeah, and
This summer.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
About a year ago for me. But you know, I converted and you converted at the moment that it became officially uncool.
Yes.
Because Tatler removed it from its trendy drinks and moved it to like its uncool drinks.
But is Tatler cool?
No.
No.
Tatler's really uncool.
No, exactly.
And finally, the last text message you sent or received.
I can have a look. Leaving now.
Who from?
I text my friend Henry.
Excellent.
Last night. I played tennis with him.
Now, I have to ask about this because you obviously had Kevin Spacey in one of your videos.
Right, yeah.
And since then, Tom,
Yes.
clearly he's had
Yeah.
quite a career capitulation, I guess you say, been caught up in the Me Too movement. Just wondered what your take was on that. And had you got close to him or was it just a relationship before that video?
I wouldn't say I knew him very well. I was completely shocked. And it certainly brought the Me Too movement very close to home. You know, it shows the sort of power of what it did. And I was completely shocked. And it's interesting, you're the first person to ask about that. I was shocked because it's not something you would suspect. And it turns out, you know, I was wrong, but I didn't sort of know him personally. But yeah, it definitely brought the whole thing close to home. And I think it did for a hell of a lot of people. I think it's incredibly, obviously under sort of questionable circumstances, it's a wonderful step forward to sorting a lot of those, you know, problems out. It's very productive in that sense.
Now, my favourite story, Tom, about you involves your dad, because this is just something that I love, because it's like what my parents would do, and I think it's what a lot of parents would do. But Enemy, who at the time seemed to have a campaign against a whole load of male singer-songwriters
Yes.
in the industry, because obviously Ed Sheeran as well, they had a long-running row with him.
Yeah.
And they gave you what is like the most unfair of all
Right,
reviews, because
yeah.
they gave you 0 out of 10, which is almost like ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, how can you give anything 0 out of 10? It's like saying it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, yeah.
And is it true, as the legend goes, that your dad actually
Yes.
pulled up the magazine without you knowing?
Yeah, and it's funny because at the time it was so... When a lot was going on, I was so annoyed at him for doing that. But then since then, I just have so much admiration for him doing that.
What did they say to him?
They didn't... You know what? He didn't actually speak to anyone. I think he tried. He tried to call them up and called the wrong number or something. Or spoke to the receptionist or something and ended up in the wrong department.
Maybe sent a follow-up email.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's true love, isn't it?
At the time, I really gave him that. What the fuck are you doing, Dad? Like, but actually, I think he'd do it again. Like, I don't think there's any sort of regret from him about it. I think he's, I think some of his mates took the piss out of him because he made national headlines.
and it's shut now, so I guess he can take some happiness from that.
Yeah, yeah. I think in a sort of strange way as well, is it probably gave the album like 5 times more press.
Yeah.
Than it wouldn't have done. You know, that classic thing like Andy Warhol, you know, don't read your reviews, weigh them, which is certainly sort of relevant there.
And does it bother you personally? I mean, do you care what the critics think about an album?
10 years ago, the answer probably would have been rightfully sort of yes. I think now with social media, it's like, not
And
sure.
streaming.
Yeah, I'm not sure how sort of relevant it is. But I think critics are there to encourage music. They're not there to be cynical about it. And I think the thing that backfired on them when they did that was that criticism is great, and for people to not like albums is great. You know, it's like, which album do you dislike? It's important. It gets the good stuff out. But I think when it turns to cynicism, it's a shame. You know, we do have a habit of doing that as sort of over here in England. It's like, it's just nice to encourage art rather than not.
Well, it's interesting because I remember speaking to Ed Sheeran about this, and he said that as his career went on and he became successful, they had to do a complete 180.
Yeah, yeah.
But he never forgot.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he was always very, very wary of them because of
Yeah,
that initial
yeah.
cynicism to his career,
Yeah.
even though they did end up giving him Emmy Awards and all of that type of thing. Well, look, I'm not a critic, so my review probably doesn't count that much, but I can't see how this
counts.
album would get a bad review.
Oh,
I
that's very
genuinely
sweet of you.
can't. It is
Yeah.
absolutely incredible and beautiful, and I really, really hope it does well, because I also love that you're someone who is focused on the art of an album,
Right.
which is something that really worries me now with a lot of pop stars,
Yeah.
because I get it, right? It's about
Yeah.
getting on the radio, and
Yeah.
it means the single is all important, but it's
Yeah.
like there is nothing like a brilliant album like this. So it's Jubilee Road, released the 26th
Yeah.
of October, but of course lots of the songs are available
Yeah,
now
that's- yeah.
on the streaming
Yeah.
sites, and I think you're going to drop a few more before the time.
Yeah. It's great speaking to you.
Tom, thank you
Yeah.
so much for being a guest on the pod.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.